A mob descending on an airport in Dagestan, Russia, after a flight landed from Israel looking for Jewish passengers. Crowds swarming the plane, seen in video circulating online, some chanting anti-Semitic slogans, others waving Palestinian flags. The terrified passengers, including children, trapped for hours as security forces struggled to secure the airport. No one aboard the plane was hurt. And in the Middle East, Israeli forces pushing deeper into Gaza, expanding their ground war. Palestinian journalists reporting Israeli tanks are now near Gaza City. One reporter filming as what appears to be an Israeli tank fires towards a car as it tries to turn away. Israel releasing this footage they say shows their troops inside the strip. Israel isn't calling this an incursion, but sources authenticating this video circulating online to ABC News showing troops raising an Israeli flag inside Gaza over the weekend. Israel's aerial assault on Gaza also continuing. Palestinians seeing the most intense bombardments this weekend since the war broke out. Thousands of Gazans breaking into a UN aid warehouse, desperate for scarce food. On Sunday, more than 30 aid trucks entering Gaza, but humanitarian organisations warning it's still far from enough. And with little fuel to run generators at hospitals, the wounded have fewer places to go.
And Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell joins me now from NetDevat with more. Ian, the Kremlin now says that President Putin is meeting with his heads of security and members of parliament in connection with that riot at the airport last night. He's also expected to speak after that. So what do you expect to hear from him? What are you listening for there?
I mean, I guess what many people will be listening for is condemnation of what happened. He's kind of tread a fairly fine line. On one hand, he had a meeting with Hamas leaders. He's been meeting with Iran, which is a close Russia ally, who in some senses are clearly on one side of this conflict. He condemned the death of civilians here in Israel, but also condemned the Israeli bombing of Gaza and saying that civilians should be protected and that the Israelis should only be going after Hamas. But there are a number of republics that are part of the Russian Federation that have populations that are very angry about what's going on here. And for Vladimir Putin, we've seen this historically in the past, in Chechnya and elsewhere, after the fall of the Soviet Union, there are potential problems in terms of internal security for Russia if they can't get a grip on this. But either way, it was hugely embarrassing. I think some people feel that anti-Semitism has gone unchallenged in Russia for a very long time, and we'll be looking really to see if he issues a stern statement condemning what happened and making sure that it doesn't happen again.
And Israel is now expanding its ground campaign. What are they hoping to accomplish here, Ian, and where are we in this war right now?
Yeah, that's right. So we keep talking about this expanded ground operation, and that's the language that's being used by Israel. They haven't used the word incursion, but you only have to look at a dictionary definition to know that what we're seeing right now is absolutely that. In other words, the troops crossed over the border into Gaza on Friday night, and they're still there today, expanding, taking more territory. We could see images of them basically moving towards Gaza City, and what they're trying to do is basically rout out Hamas. But you've got over 2 million civilians there, so we're already seeing, of course, humanitarian crisis and significant numbers of civilians losing their lives in the midst of this battle.
Ian, President Biden also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel yesterday, and they said he underscored the need to immediately and significantly increase the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Is that happening?
I mean, there have been more trucks that crossed over, I think 30 or so in the last 24 hours, but it's still way short of what aid agencies say they desperately need. Remember, Israel imposed a complete siege. Some of the water supply has been turned back on, but they refuse for fuel to go in there. Hospitals say they need it to keep the generators going, to allow them to continue to do operations. You can see signs of the military operation everywhere here. But what Israel says is that the fuel is being used by Hamas to fund its war machine. But the situation on the ground is dire. There are a lot of challenges there. It's not just what Israel wants to do, it's what Egypt will also allow and what is possible in the midst of this conflict, which is why you're seeing the UN and others saying, look, if you have a humanitarian, if you have a ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, it allows humanitarian aid to go in. But that's not what we're seeing right now.
All right, Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell live from Israel. Stay safe, Ian. Thank you. And more humanitarian aid is arriving in Gaza, perhaps not at the pace that the U.S. would like, but there is more coming in after the UN says thousands of people broke into UN warehouses searching for food and basic survival items. The Red Crescent says 24 trucks carrying food and medical supplies entered through the Rafah crossing from Egypt Sunday night, bringing the total number of aid trucks to 118. Let's bring in World Health Organization spokesperson Tariq Jasarevic in Cairo for more on this humanitarian part of things. Tariq, the United Nations says people in Gaza are at a breaking point. Paint that picture for us. What does that mean?
Well, Diane, what it means is there are 50,000 pregnant women right now in Gaza. There are people being injured every hour. There are people with a cancer and who need treatment. There are people with non-communicable diseases, with mental health diseases. There are children, premature children that are on ventilators. All these people depend on health system providing health services. This is not happening. Hospitals are closing down one by one. Health centers are closing right now. Only 1/3 of health centers is still functioning. 2/3 of hospitals are functioning, but in a limited way. There is no fuel, as we have just heard. Hospitals cannot function without a fuel. Hospitals need electricity. Hospitals need clean water, and hospitals need medical supplies, medicines, surgical kits. They need medical material, and they also need safety. They should not be targeted. So all of these things makes that population in Gaza is in a desperate situation, that health workers in Gaza, and only 30% of health workers from before the conflict are still working, are in a situation facing difficult choices on who to treat with the little fuel that is being wrested and with the little electricity that has been rationed, with the depleting medical supplies. And we really appealing to have unhindered, continuous and safe access for medical supplies and other humanitarian aid.
So, Tariq, we're also hearing phone lines and internet connections are gradually returning after more than 24 hours of almost total communication blackout. How difficult has it been for your teams there trying to deploy aid there, and what are you hoping to see from the Israeli government?
Well, you can only imagine how it was during a blackout when no one could really reach hospitals. It was complete darkness. If you are a pregnant woman and you are about to deliver, nowhere to go, no one to assist you. Now we managed to talk again with our staff, and they are just telling us how difficult the situation is right now in hospitals. People are in corridors. There is no enough of medical workers to treat everyone, and also people are looking for shelter in hospitals. There are thousands of people in the north, in Al-Shifa hospital, looking for some sort of security, because under international humanitarian law, medical workers, medical facilities, hospitals should never be a target. So really what we are looking in is really difficult situation. And then on top of it, there is an order from Israel to evacuate hospitals in the north. That's impossible without endangering lives of patients, people who are in post-operative care, people who are in intensive care. As I said, newborns who are in incubators, people who are needing dialysis. All these people cannot just be moved somewhere. So we have been calling from the beginning for Israel to revoke and rescind this order for evacuation.
All right, Tariq Jasarevic with the World Health Organization. We appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.